there, thanks for tuning into Duckbricks and welcome to a brand new LEGO 2022 review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the January 1st, 2022 LEGO Monkie Kid set releases. Now Monkie Kid is one of LEGO's best original LEGO themes. It's based off of the Chinese legend Journey to the West, but with a modern spin, almost acting like a sequel to the original folklore. For 2022, Monkie Kid hasn't lost any steam, and there's a lot of really interesting sets to take a look at here, and some of the best Monkie Kid sets they've ever put out. And so without further ado, let's just jump right into the review. Alright, so here we are with every single one of the January 1st, 2022 LEGO Monkie Kid releases. Essentially, the way we're going to be doing this is we'll take a look at every single set from the smallest to the largest, including the little poly bag, and then at the end of the video, I'll be sharing my thoughts in general on the wave as a whole, giving my thoughts on the affordability of each set, the minifigure selection, and giving my recommendations for what are the best sets from this wave of LEGO Monkie Kid. And so without further ado, let's just jump right in. We're going to be starting off with the Monkie Kid's Underwater Journey poly bag. So starting off our Monkie Kid lineup here is actually a poly bag. This is set number 30562, Monkie Kid's Underwater Journey. At the time of this recording, you cannot actually purchase this retail. You actually have to purchase it as a gift with purchase if you spend up to $40 on Monkie Kid or Ninjago LEGO sets. I'm sure that will change sometime in the future. Obviously, LEGO Discovery Centers and LEGOlands will probably be selling this for around $5, just the standard poly bag price. But you can see here it includes the Monkie Kid figure, the new one for 2022, featuring dual molded legs and printing on the sides of the arms, which is really deluxe, as well as just two generic skeleton demons, which are meant to represent the Bone Demon's henchmen. Now, this is honestly probably one of the best poly bags we've gotten in a long time. Not even just for Monkie Kid, just one of the best poly bags in general. It's using the teal coral pieces, which were introduced for LEGO Friends back in 2019. These are really nice pieces. I love the way that they actually can be used for underwater displays. It also includes two copies of the classic LEGO Crab, which was used in stuff like Aqua Raiders, so really awesome to get that. Of course, you get some drum lacquered gold elements in the ingots here inside the treasure chest, and of course, star of the show, new Monkie Kid figure for the lowest price you can get him at. So this is really nice to me. I really appreciate LEGO including this excellently detailed figure in a poly bag like this, and I'm just really happy in general that we get a poly bag of this quality for the Monkie Kid line. Honestly, there's nothing too much else I can say about this. The build is obviously just your standard polybag build. It does feature 3 of the coral pieces, so that's really nice, even just as a parts pack. If you don't care anything about Monkie Kid, you get some drum lacquered ingots, which are always very useful. You get 4 in total there, so that's really generous. You get 2 crabs, 2 skeletons, 2 of the Chinese style of sword used for the Lloyd minifigures of Ninjago, 3 coral pieces, a minifigure with dual molded legs and printing on his arms, a new teal rebreather, a dual molded hairpiece. This just feels really deluxe to me as a poly bag. I'm happy to get it. Not too much else I can say about it other than it's a really strong start for Monkie Kid, and let's now move on to the rest of the sets. Alright, so the first standard retail set we have here is set number 80030. This is simply titled Monkie Kid Staff Creations and retails for $35 US. This is the first Monkie Kid set that is essentially supposed to be an introduction to the theme. And to be honest, I feel like this is something the theme could have used on its very first wave. It is at the 5+ age range, so it's really supposed to be bringing younger kids into the world of Monkie Kid. And it does so pretty well. So obviously you can see there are 3 different builds here. You've got a car, a jet, and a mech, as well as the Monkie Kid in training figure, plus the Monkey King figure. So setting the figures aside, let's just take a look at the builds here. At first glance, this can feel very juniorized, and you may be wondering why this is such a simple set. Well, first of all, this is actually, again, supposed to be introducing younger kids to Monkie Kid. So of course, the builds will be a lot more juniorized than you're used to, and they're essentially supposed to be just different permutations of the staff here, which can transform into different things. That being said, this set actually has a pretty cool gimmick that I actually really appreciate and think that it's cool that LEGO included it as a set of its own. So first of all here, you can immediately see that this mech is using the brand new SCCBS system. This is a system that had been designed for LEGO Ninjago specifically, but not necessarily only restrained or confined to Ninjago, which obviously you can see it being in use here. I talked about this a lot in the actual video where the LEGO designer responsible for SCCBS explained the entire logic and thinking behind the system during a massive interview. So do go check that video out in the description below if you do want to check that out. But of course, the basic premise of this is a way for kids to build 5+ mechs without actually having to worry about posing them. You're supposed to be able to just plop them down and they will stand up, which you can see right here is basically how they would work. Even if the legs are kind of just moved out of angle, you just need to really just plop it down and they'll stand up just fine on their own without kids having to fidget with the legs at all. However, again, as I mentioned, the set hides a secret because as you can see here, this can detach, these can detach, and now you're stuck with a few different modules. So, that's interesting. Well, let's see what we can do with that. You can see here, first of all, we have this car. Very kind of basic racing car, but first of all, this comes off. This comes off. This comes off here. The back of the staff is off as well. And these two side pieces come off. So, alright, now we're getting somewhere. We have a few more blocks to work with here. Taking a look at the jet, you can probably see where this is going. Pop that off. Pop this off. Pop the wings off. Pop this off as well. And now we have just a lot of different Monkey Kid related modules. And what's super cool about this is that LEGO actually introduced a brand new piece to be used in this particular form of play. As you can see here, there is a piece here that may seem like a composite of existing LEGO pieces, but if I remove it just to showcase the piece here, it's actually a brand new element that's specifically designed to facilitate connections to make it easy for kids to add things on and off of this piece, which I think is a pretty cool element. It's certainly very interesting, a very specialized piece, but it was needed and very necessary for the set to retain its sort of modular look and feel. So, with all these modules now, let's see what we can do. So first of all, let's go with something that actually is recommended for the LEGO designers to do, which is actually kind of a cheeky nod to an original LEGO theme. Putting the mech back together, you just have a basic mech, but wait, if we add on these extra blocks here to kind of space it out a little bit, you can put the wings here, and this is basically the mech, but with wings added on. Now, astute LEGO construction fans may notice that this seems somewhat familiar. You see, this exact configuration is specifically supposed to be a direct reference to LEGO Galador, which was a failed line of LEGO construction sets from 2002 featuring the main character, Nick Bluetooth, transforming his arms into wings in this exact configuration. He had some missile launchers here, the wings were even pointed in the shape. It is supposed to be a direct reference to Galador, so that's pretty funny, but that's kind of the more basic of things you can do here. You can kind of just get this in a mech with wings, but there's actually a lot more interesting things you can do because, of course, all of these are different modules, and it's really nice to be able to have a lot of kids be able to play with this in different configurations. So let's say I want to add some sort of a mech with wheels on it. So first of all, we can just pop the legs onto here. That's interesting. That kind of elongates the torso there. And if we want this to have wings as well, well, of course, we can just pop those on here, so that's really nice to get. So this is really trying to kind of combine all of the different build aspects here, and maybe we want this to have some sort of a front connection piece, so you can have this be popped on here. You can see that right there. That forms a pretty cool vehicle on its own. It can form as a mech, so you can walk it along the ground. As a car, you can drive it, and also as a plane. This really does combine all the different aspects. Of course, you can do all sorts of different stuff too, so maybe I want to really showcase the staff element there. I can just add the staff piece on right at the top here, so it really shows it's part of the staff. Or maybe I don't want the legs. Maybe I just want something else. So then I can maybe pop this on or pop the wings onto here, make it a jet and car combo here. All sorts of different play experiences, and heck, what if I just want one of the massive arms sticking out here, so maybe I can drive this around. You can use it to kind of bash things down, and you can use this right here. This is its own build itself. The possibilities are pretty endless with the set, and that made me appreciate this a lot more. Obviously, if you are a seasoned LEGO fan, this set might not be for you, but for me personally, I think it's just really cool that kids have the chance to have so much different ways to play with one set just by using different modules and combining them with each other. I think it's a really nice initiative that that LEGO actually decided to make this a full-on set. Monkey Kid, one of its biggest problems has been actually being able to introduce younger audiences to sets at lower price points, and this I feel is a pretty nice price point to be able to be introduced to. Is $35 a little much for what you get? Yeah, I think it's a little much. I certainly would have been a lot happier if the set was, say, $25, I think would have been very fair, but maybe a little too fair. Even just $30, I think would have made the set pretty happy to me. $35 does feel like a little bit much for what you get, but I do understand it because LEGO does actually price the Monkey Kid sets a little bit more expensive than normal for whatever reason, presumably because regionally it does make sense to price them this way. And of course, these are selling in Ninjago for $10. This could be probably a $10 build. And I guess maybe if you valued this at $15, it could work out for the price, so $10, $20, $35. I think that's a bit of a stretch. $30 would have been very nice, but I think it's fairly fair for what you get, and for the amount of play that you can actually get out of these, it's a really good set. It's also nice that they included basically the two main protagonists of the Monkey Kid show in this introductory set, albeit in the training uniforms, but it's still nice to get them, the standard Monkey Kid figure, as well as the king himself. So, of course, this is a great introductory set for Monkey Kid. It is not nearly the level of building style that we are used to with the Monkey Kid theme, which features really great quality of builds, almost LEGO movie style of builds. This is really just a very simple set to get kids introduced to the world. So for what it is, I like it, but there's a lot more interesting stuff on the way. So let's now move on to our next set. Alright, so next up here we have set number 80031. This is May's Dragon Car, which retails for $50 US. It also features 4 minifigures, 2 of Macox evil minions, as well as May herself and Monkey Kid. So this is a fairly interesting and somewhat controversial set, and to be completely honest, I'm going to say this right off the bat, I think this is probably the weakest set of the wave. And that's by no means saying it's not a good set. It certainly is a lot better than a lot of the other large-scale LEGO cars we get, but I just think in comparison to a lot of the other fantastic builds and even some great builds we've gotten from May in the past, this just feels like a bit of a step back, and let me explain why. First of all, these side builds are fun. They don't really do too much for me, but it is nice to see some sort of large-scale skateboard for Monkey Kid. We'll just get that off frame here, as well as a villain's bike as well, which is very, very similar to other bikes we've gotten for, say, Ninjago, very similar to the Sons of Garmadon bikes, but it's nice to see this new piece being molded in transparent purple, which is somewhat related to the collectibles of this wave. Speaking of the collectibles of this wave, we have the May figure here wielding one of them. Not really sure exactly what the in-universe story explanation of these will be. At the time of this recording, the television series for Season 3 has not been released yet, so we don't really know anything about what these are supposed to be, but it's just cool to get this as a collectible, although they have used the flame piece quite a lot in different colors in the sets, which does make it feel a little bit less special. One thing that avid LEGO fans may realize here is that the May minifigure and the car itself is sporting a brand new color for 2022. LEGO officially calls this color Vibrant Yellow. It's very much a fluorescent or highlighter yellow type of color, which honestly I feel is maybe a little bit too bright for the May figure here. I'm not the biggest fan of the way the graphic design worked out here to actually have the figure have such a bright and glaring, distractingly bright torso, but I guess it makes sense to really want to debut that new color for 2022. I just wish that for future versions of May, we will go back to more of the standard white and teal color scheme. As you can see here, the vehicle does its best to also kind of shoehorn this color in, and they do this to limited effect. You can see here that it's using the standard May color scheme of transparent green, teal, and white, but you also kind of awkwardly have this very highlighter fluorescent yellow color here, which feels very out of place to me. I'm not the biggest fan of how that one actually was integrated into this model in particular. I like its use in the city sets because it makes sense as an emergency color. I just feel like they didn't need to include it here. So this set is basically built around a big play feature where you can see one of the large, actually juniors or 4+ style of missile launchers there. Tilting the head upwards will fire the missile. It actually has quite a powerful blast behind it. These are intended to replace the Technic competition cannons, so it really is just using the LEGO City water blast piece, but this time molded in transparent green for energy blasts, which I think is a cool recolor, although it does feel a little bit juniorized for this style of build. Moving onwards, there is some fun shaping going on with the car itself. You can really get this rolled up. It's reusing the Ninjago Prime Empire blade pieces, which make total sense for inclusion of this build as well. And I do like the kind of apple green or transparent light green color used kind of to keep things consistent with the rest of the May vehicles. That being said, it is kind of a strangely shaped car. It really, again, is built around this very blocky launcher at the front, which makes it feel at some points very incomplete or just kind of juniorized a bit to the front here. I was a much bigger fan of, say, the Maze Jet from last year, which I think had some really excellent shaping, some really cool color scheme choices and design for gradients of colors in that jet. This year, I think the most off-putting thing to me here is the use of the new color, which actually is kind of surprising to me because I am a big fan of LEGO introducing new colors and sets, just not very well in this set in particular. That being said though, not everything about it is bad. I do like the shaping of the actual pieces here that were introduced for LEGO Star Wars back in 2016, but it's cool to see these being actually used as the curvature and shaping of the bodywork of this car. Some nice detailing on the side here, but very, very simple. Of course, as we rotate it to the back here, it's just using a standard Technic frame. Not too much else I can say about this, honestly. It's just very, very basic. It feels a little bit too basic for Monkie Kid in terms of the launcher there, but of course, there's a lot more sets to come, so let's now move on from this set and take a look at our next set on the list. Next up, we have set number 80032. This is the Changi Mooncake Factory, retailing for $70 US. It features 3 minifigures, 3 different animals, and a very, very cute bunny-inspired, classic space-inspired lunar station for a very unique blend and mashup of LEGO designs. So, starting off with the minifigures here, obviously exclusive to the set is the Changi minifigure itself, which is an absolutely fantastic design. I really do like how this figure came out in general. Some excellent paint detailing on the top of the head there that is not dual molded, that is just painted on, but it still works out very nicely. It's a really, really fun design using a white skirt element, just some nice metallic printing alongside. It's just a fun character to have in general. Alongside her, we have one of her presumably minions. This is some sort of a bunny robot. The design is kind of similar to the protocol droids from Star Wars with some exposed wiring in the center there, and he has a happy expression as well as an angry expression, presumably to ward off any invaders, which is, I guess, what the carrot gun is for. On the protagonist side of these sets, we have Pigsy in the space outfit that most of the other heroes are actually using, which you'll see later on in one of the other reviews. He has the collectible for this wave in a different color, the transparent blue version this time, and a space-inspired version of his standard rake. Of course, we also have the Mo Cat figure. This is a really fun mold that was introduced for the LEGO Movie 2 designs, but it actually is working really well in this theme. A cat with a mohawk and this kind of a chain collar around is just a fun design to have in general. Of course, though, we can now move on to the actual set itself. So the set's kind of broken up into 2 parts. You have the moon base set, and you have this massive bunny robot. And to me, this honestly feels like basically what a LEGO space set would be today, but with a bit of an animal twist. If LEGO were to make original space stuff, I could imagine the bases would look something very similar to this, which is kind of a cool design given that we haven't gotten original LEGO Classic Space, or really any original LEGO space stuff, since 2013 with Galaxy Squad. So, first of all here, I do want to start off with the robot here. This is a very, very cute space-inspired bunny mech. It is very compact, but it actually does have a lot of different fun features to it. Setting that aside, we can just take a look. Obviously, you can rotate the legs back and forth. Can't really do anything else, but it's just nice to see this. A lot of really interesting detail on the legs here. Some mechanical detail with jet engines on the back here, which really does actually make this feel like a blend between very cutesy, but also somewhat industrial. You can kind of make it hop along the surface of the moon here, so that's just a fun feature to have in general. You can also angle the blasters here, or the stud shooters, using the new for 2022 stud shooter design here. And of course, much like many of the other classic LEGO space designs, it features a bit of a detachable spaceship for the 2 little bunnies piloting the mech. So what a cute design, just a really fun concept as a LEGO model, and really again does feel like a callback to classic LEGO space designs. What's nice about this is that you also have a few different detailing on the back. Obviously, this logo here is supposed to represent the classic space logo, which is the mooncake with a bunny circling it, so a bit of a Monkie Kid twist. This whole bottom piece just simply detaches, that just comes right off, where you can actually see some control panels and extra ammo for these stud shooters. So Just some extra space back there that you can use to stock up stuff. Doesn't necessarily need to be removed, but it's nice seeing that being removable. And you also can angle the ears however you like. You can kind of have them folded back, have them folded upwards here, or just kind of in the standard backwards design. All in all, it's a very compact mech, but one of the more unique LEGO mech designs, and something I find just to be really, really cute in general. It even has a bit of a button tail at the end for the bunny design. Moving onwards here, we actually have a bit of a space base. This is actually a detachable platform. It is supposed to be a place for Changi to live stream. Apparently she is a streamer, so she's a streamer girl here. I don't know what's going on with that in the TV show, but presumably we'll see more of that in the TV show itself, but this is actually a streaming platform for Changi to broadcast her streams outwards to the rest of the world to see. It just fits right here on the moon base here, so if you actually want to look at it as some sort of technological heads-up display, you can also see that, so that is nice to see. We get a carrot-shaped rocket, which is a very cool and fun design. This actually surprisingly has interior space. You can open this up here, and you can see that inside are packets of the mooncakes that Changi is using to deliver the mooncakes to the rest of the world. So that's kind of a cool design. Did not expect to see this opening up. When I first saw images of it, I thought it was just a giant carrot rocket, but nice to see this actually have some hinged opening design. They actually also recolored this transparent piece for transparent clear in the first time. We're getting a recolor in clear for the first time in the set, so that's nice to see. And moving onwards to the back, Pigsy seems to be doing some rogue advertising on the side of the building here. Don't know how he got his advertisement there, but somehow he got it up there. This is where they actually make the mooncakes. It has a semblance of this conveyor belt lineup where they have the raw materials going through this machine, and coming out, there are the processed mooncakes to be loaded into the box. So very, very simple factory build, but something that's very cute and works very well. And honestly, that is something that kind of describes this set. It's just a very cute style of build that we haven't really seen from Monkie Kid before. For $70 though, I do think this is kind of a little bit overpriced. I certainly would have been very happy paying, say, $60 for this. $55 would have been really nice, but I don't know if LEGO would do this for $55. $70 though seems like a little bit too expensive for what you get. And for the first time ever, this set, alongside many other sets, are actually more expensive in North America. This is actually priced a lot cheaper and more reasonably priced in other regions of the world, such as being only like 50 British pounds. So if you actually have the opportunity to get this and some of the other Monkie Kid sets in other regions of the world, I would definitely recommend it, because for whatever reason, LEGO actually thankfully is making prices somewhat normalized across all regions this year, which means that they're not doing the same thing that they usually do, where they would make this $70 and then 70 euros and then 70 pounds, because that's not how currency works. So it's nice that LEGO is making the effort to make prices somewhat standardized across all regions. That does unfortunately mean that the North American region was hit a little bit worse in terms of the prices this time around, but it is still a nice set. If you can find it on sale, I definitely would recommend, because it's just a very cute set to have in general. But next up, we can take a look at the next Monkie Kid set. This is set number 80033, Evil Macox Mech, retailing for $80 US. It features 5 minifigures, one of Macox's minions, the evil Macox himself redesigned for 2022, a fully powered up May figure featuring all of the collectibles from this wave, the standard Monkie Kid figure, as well as a new minifigure for Sandy, who previously was only a big figure. So first of all, let's just take a look at the figures themselves. I already talked about the May figure in the previous review, but this one actually does look pretty cool. I really like the inclusion of the collectibles themselves. They actually really add a sense of gravitas to the character, and really does feel like this is a powered up version, despite actually not featuring any exclusive prints on the torso. It's just using the actual collectibles to be built onto her. The Macox figure itself is probably one of the coolest figures of the wave. We actually did get a Macox figure in the previous lineup of Monkie Kid sets, but he was just using the standard MK hairpiece, and this time he gets a special brand new mold all to himself, featuring his 6 ears, which is a staple of the character. He also has the black tail going outwards on the back here, a cape, the dark red scarf piece, which is new in dark red, it was used for the LEGO movie, as well as a massively detailed staff with a transparent purple flame. So it is a really cool figure, great for the main villain of the wave, and I'm really interested to see where the story takes the characters, because typically he's not necessarily a full-on villain, sometimes he's just kind of a standard side antagonist, so I'm kind of curious to see how they actually make him the main villain for this wave. We haven't really talked about the minions a lot in the process of this review, so I'll take this time now to briefly talk about them because of course this is Macox set. I do actually like the design of them, although they are fairly simple. The red printing on the black head is not the best. It's a little bit too dark red for my taste, especially because the red printing here is supposed to be the same red as the red on the arms, so that doesn't feel quite right to me, but I guess I understand why they would want to actually try to print it. I just feel like LEGO has to improve their quality standards a bit there. It's also really cool to get a recolor of the Ninjago weapon piece in gunmetal gray. These weapon pieces are really useful for building in general, and this is used a lot of times throughout the set, so I think it's really cool to see this actually being recolored. MK himself we talked about previously, not too much else to say here. Really nicely detailed figure with the dual molded legs and the printing on the arms. And the Sandy figure is actually a really great minifigure representation of one of the main characters. Previously, one of the biggest problems with including Sandy as a main character in the MK sets was that he was a big fig, which means the set had to be scaled around him, and it probably meant the set was a lot more overpriced. Having him as a minifig seems to have solved that problem, and he obviously is the same character, so I think it works out very well. He has nice printing on the sides of the legs too, really just makes us feel like a deluxe figure, and all in all, it's a nice figure representation of one of the main characters. We also get a side build for Monkey Kid's staff, which doubles as a massive blaster here. Nothing too much else I can say about this. I feel like it would have made sense for this to fire a larger projectile than just the stud shooter on the side, but I guess it does the job and serves as a nice side prop to combat the main mech. But with that, let's actually take a look at the main mech itself. To be completely honest, I am not necessarily the biggest fan of how this particular set came together, at least in comparison to other Monkey Kid mechs. I think they really set the bar with the absolutely fantastic Bull Demon mechs, the Bone Demon mech, and of course the Monkey King Warrior mech, where this one just feels like a bit of a step back. It kind of just feels like a standard Ninjago styled mech, which isn't necessarily too bad. I just feel like at this stage, Monkey Kid could be doing better than that. So that being said, that does not make this a bad set at all. In fact, no, it is a very, very nicely built mech, really great for play with just a few things I feel like could have been improved. So let's just take a look at articulation here. Starting off with the arms, let's actually, well, I was going to say let's remove the staff, but it did the removing for me. Let's just take a look at how you can move him around. You've got these shoulder pauldrons, which are on the mixel ball joints, so those are nicely angled upwards. He's using the brand new joint introduced for LEGO Ninjago as well, using this kind of newer style of ratchet joint connection to actually allow you to have full-on ratchet joints for the arms, which is a really nice piece. Really glad they introduced that element. The arms are just using click hinges for the elbows, which does somewhat limit articulation, makes it feel a little bit juniorized and almost old school in the way they're doing that, but I guess they work out okay. I do like this spiky bracelet he has on one hand. That's a pretty cool idea there. And all in all, the arm articulation is fairly good. You can really move them up, get a lot of poses out of the arms here. I'm very happy with the way the arms can articulate. What I'm not too happy with, however, is the way the legs articulate. I feel like we're at this point today where LEGO mechs can kind of try to branch outwards from never including knees, and I do know that some mechs do include knees. Recently we got a Ninjago Zane's mech just last year that was pretty much just this scale, if not even bigger, that did have a great knee technique. Really would have loved to see that knee technique being used here, but sadly it was not. And you can just see the legs are fixed at this angle. So LEGO does do this to make the mechs more stable, but what I also don't understand is that you cannot actually change the articulation of the feet. You can rotate them, but you cannot change them, and they specifically lock the articulation, which means you can only get this in a standing pose. You cannot get this in a walking pose because the moment you try to make him walk forwards, his foot's not on the ground. You can't bend this downwards. Again, they could have easily solved this by removing this piece here. Then you can bend the foot like this, and there you go, you get him in a much different walking pose, or at least a slightly different one like so. You can see here his feet are firmly on the ground, but you can actually bend them. But specifically because they included these pieces here, you cannot bend the feet, and I don't know why they did that. You can't actually get him into any poses. Probably one of my biggest problems with the set. They probably went a little bit too overboard in terms of making it completely stable, which yes, it is stable. If I want to plop him down on the ground, he is stable, but it also means he's kind of like a statue. You can't really do much with it, and that's just a little bit disappointing to me personally. It isn't one of the much larger mechs that really needed there to be no feet articulation. They could have easily added a little bit more other than just rotating, and that's probably one of my big complaints. Moving onwards though, I think the rest of it is not too bad. I like the shaping of the body here with the slightly elevated reactor core here, which is a nice design. The head itself is really good. It's basically just a very similar form of the Monkey King warrior mech, but this time in kind of an evil, more black and dark brown form, which is very different, but definitely stands out as a rival to the MK Major mech. Back here, we actually have a spot to put the staff if he's not holding it, so that's really nice. I actually do like its inclusion here. You can have him wield the staff on the back, which is a very nice detail just to include on the back of the mech here. And there are some nicely detailed transparent purple engine bits, which really do actually make this feel armored up on the back. Obviously, the tail is very simple, just using the mixel ball joints, and it is very skinny in some parts in the back here. But all in all, I think this is probably one of the weaker MK mechs. Really just hurts the level of articulation, not being able to move the feet here. The feet also feel very simplified for what they are, and for this being a mech, there is no place to put the minifigure of Macox. It just seems to be like a large scaled up version of him because there's no place you can put him. They didn't even try to actually have any cockpit or anything. You cannot even stick him onto the shoulder or anything. So this is not really a mech, or I guess it's a mech that he has to control remotely because he cannot actually fit in it. There is no seat for him. It's just a large scale figure. That being said, I think with that we can probably move on to the next set. I do actually like the set for what it is, although I do feel like it could have been a lot better, and definitely as it is right now, it is a lot smaller than the Monkey King warrior mech, so if you wanted to have them battle each other, the scales of those isn't really going to work out too well. It's just going to absolutely trounce this mech because this is a lot shorter and a lot smaller than the previous Monkey mech. Alrighty, so next up we have set number 80034, Nessas Fire Ring, retailing for $100 US. And let me tell you, this was one of my most anticipated sets of the entire January 1st, 2022 wave of releases. It features a whopping 7 minifigs, a skeleton, the Lady Bone Demon, a minion from Macox, Macox himself, Monkey King, Monkey Kid, and Nessa, which is a really great assortment of figures and includes the exclusive armored up version of Monkey Kid, which is a really cool figure to get, as well as the exclusive Nessa figure. The Macox figure is absolutely excellent, returning from the previous set we just took a look at, the Macox mech, and the Monkey King is just kind of in his casual outfit, which we've seen in previous waves of MK. Of course, the minion is the same design for across all of the different sets, and the Bone Demon also is in the same exact configuration we saw her in last in the Bone Demon mech. So really the only 2 exclusive minifigs are here, but it's nice to see actually some new minifigures being included throughout the set. Now this does feel like a bit of a strange set to me in terms of being a little bit scattered in its focus, and this is a problem that does affect some of the Monkey Kid sets. So on the one hand, you have a throne for the Bone Demon. I don't really know what this is doing in the set. Maybe it'll make more sense in the TV show, but I don't really know why this throne is even here. It just feels like kind of a use of extra budget. They maybe had extra budget for the set itself that wasn't taken up by the main vehicles, so they decided to throw this in, which is a completely unrelated third tertiary villain. Here we have the main villain and his vehicle. This is actually a really nice glider here. I actually really love the design of this. It kind of reminds me of these Space Police 3 vehicles we saw back in 2009. Feels very much like it would be at home in a space-themed LEGO display. So honestly, if this was a set by itself, if they sold this for say $25, I would have happily bought it on its own. And that's kind of the thing with Monkey Kid. Some of the best builds are side builds to much larger sets. Of course though, the main attraction is the fire ring itself, and this is the main thing I was super excited for with this set in particular. But there are a few other things to take a look at first. First of all, the new armored up MK figure is really cool. I love the armored design of the side printing on the arms. That's just such a cool figure to me. He also has a very nicely detailed visor there, which is a cool display. Just an awesome figure to get in general, and one of my favorite versions of the Monkey Kid figure. Despite him maybe not being as detailed as other ones with no dual molded legs, the side printing on the arms really makes this figure that much more special to me. And this is one of the coolest designs we've gotten for him yet. What's also very nice is the little flyer here that he uses actually doubles as a staff. You'll notice that there's a staff element here. If you want to remove the candlestick pieces from the front and back of the cloud flyer, take this piece here, you can add them on, and there you go. It's just a slightly larger scaled up staff for him, which makes sense because the staff size can grow and shrink throughout the TV show itself. So this is really cool to get. Really like that you can actually rebuild this into different things. Even if it's a very, very simple build itself, it's just something that I think is kind of cool to get. And of course, looking at the Nessas figure, this is another nice figure featuring another very classic Monkey King character. It features a brand new cape as well, which is a cool build to see, and is using the monowheel inspired design, or the wheel inspired design, which you can see on his main build right here. So let's take a look at the main attraction itself, because this is just such a cool and unique LEGO build. We haven't really gotten things like this from LEGO before, unless you count General Grievous's wheel bike. Other than that, I can't think of another way that we got this, and certainly not at this scale. And it works really well, although your mileage will vary. I actually did test this on a few different surfaces. There were some surfaces, like the hardwood floor, where unfortunately the wheel would just slide along. Like, it would just slide like this, it would not spin, so that was kind of sad. But for this kind of surface, and of course on carpet, you're gonna get your best mileage out of the set here. And this is just such a cool design to play with as a toy. I love the way this looks. It's just such a very unique design for a LEGO build, and really only something that you'd see out of Monkey Kid. So you can see right here that they're using some really nicely colored transparent pieces on the centerpiece here. These are studs on the side blocks that are recolored in transparent orange, which is so cool to get. You also have the flame piece being used here to really adhere the roller coaster wheels together, making sure everything stays together. This is actually using a lot of really great balancing techniques to make sure the back is equally as balanced as the front. So that's why you have these massive flame exhausts in the back. It's just such a cool vehicle. I love the way this looks. It's one of my favorite Monkey Kid vehicles ever, and probably one of my favorite original LEGO vehicles they've ever done. So this is absolutely fantastic. Well done, LEGO, for executing such a unique concept, and one of the best MK vehicles yet. Oh yeah, it also has these little flame things on the side. They don't really add anything to the build. I feel like this is just, again, extra budget, which does feel like a lot of the other stuff in the set, but you do have those in case you want to play with them. But then that goes on to the matter of value. So again, this set is $100 US, and this is a very strange set because you've got two different villain factions which seemingly are unrelated and unaligned. You have some random side flame pieces. You have a pretty weird assortment of minifigures. You've got a side character being the main focus of the set. You've got the main villain of this year, the main villain of last year, and you've also got a minion for this year's main villain. It just kind of feels a little scattered to me, and I'm not necessarily sure what's going on with the idea or concept behind this set in general. I think that this would have maybe worked out a little bit better if they, say, sold this separately for $60, maybe even $70. I would have paid $70 because this is a really cool design. So if they sold this separately as its own set, maybe you have this, you have the Nessas figure, you have an evil minion, you've got maybe the armored up MK, and yeah, sure, throw in Monkey King as well. So this could be its own set. And then you could maybe have a villain themed set. If you just had the Macox jet, this could have been a nice way to get the figure for cheap, say a $25 set. You could maybe have a bit of a hero build here to make it a $30 set for two speeder bikes chasing each other. This could be good. Not really sure where this fits in. I don't know why we're getting a throne for last year's main villain in this wave. Feels like a very odd inclusion for this set in particular, but I guess they needed to include it in some set because she is still one of the main threats. Spoilers for the TV show, but essentially the previous season ended with her winning, and the heroes kind of have to go off on their own to go on a quest to be able to become powerful enough to defeat her. So I can imagine her being the main villain of, say, the summer wave of sets, so maybe this is just a hint towards what's to come. Otherwise though, this is a really cool set, albeit a little bit scattered like some of the Monkey Kid sets tend to be, but really makes up for it by this fantastic design. And again, if you are lucky enough to pick this up in a region outside of North America, it's priced a lot better in other regions. So do keep that in mind as you go ahead and purchase this. If you can find it on sale, that's really going to be fantastic as well. Although $100 for all this doesn't seem too bad for me. It feels pretty fair for what you get. I just don't know why it needed to be $100 for all this, and why they couldn't have just sold things separately. But with that, we have made our way to the penultimate set. This is set number 80035, Monkey Kid's Galactic Explorer, retailing for $130 US and featuring a whopping 6 minifigs. 4 of these figures are 4 of our main heroes. You've got Monkey Kid himself, Mr. Tang, Sandy, and May in space outfits. We previously got Pigsy in a space outfit on the other set, so that's nice to get. We also get a robotic version of the Mo Cat, kind of a space mech version, which is very reminiscent of, again, Space Police 3, which had a robotic dog. We also have 2 different Macox minions, including one with a massive jetpack on his back. Of course, though, the main, obviously, attraction of the set is this massive, massive spaceship and a bit of a docking station too. So this is truly fantastic. I am a big fan of LEGO Space. We haven't gotten original space stuff in many years, as I mentioned earlier in this video, and boy is this truly a great return to form for LEGO as a truly stunning original LEGO spaceship. So first of all, let's just get some of this stuff out of the way. We already looked at the spacesuits with the Pigsy figures, so nothing too much else to see here, but I do like the inclusion of a jetpack for MK. Right here you can see him with his full jetpack right here, so nice to see that piece being reused from the LEGO City Sky Police theme. Sandy is nice because you can actually put the helmet on him and he still has his beard on the inside. It does also include the main beard piece and the mohawk if you want to include the helmet off, so it's nice to have the option to do that. May is basically just standard using her heads-up display figure design here. And we also have Mr. Tang with a pair of chopsticks in the bowl because what else would he bring into space? I really also like the design of the robot cat here, just a very nice and charming, fun, small design, and the minions are obviously very simple, but the jetpack is actually pretty cool. Recoloring these in transparent purple is a really neat design to actually get the cloud piece recolored in purple for jet exhaust, and of course you have the collectible of the wave flame piece being recolored in purple as well. Moving onwards to the main build though, let's now take a look at the refueling station using an octane tank in the Chinese text, which is kind of a cool design to get a staple of LEGO City. And obviously this is very simple. Nice to get the roller coaster pieces in teal though, which we will be seeing very shortly in another set. But of course you can retract the station right here and you have a full-on rocket to look at. So what I love about this rocket is that it actually has a lot of space for you to load up minifigures and pretend you're in the process of boarding the rocket. And let me see what I mean by that. So this right here rotates open for interior space. It holds a rover featuring a return of a classic space printed tile. Many classic AFOLs will recognize this piece as one of the most vintage LEGO control panels, so that's really nice to see. Also having storage for a rover in general, just as a classic LEGO space thing in general. You have a bit of a holding space for the collectible of this wave right here in green, so that's pretty cool to see. But what's really awesome is, again, you just rotate this back, and there it is, fully sealed up in terms of the spaceship here. On the side of the ship here, you actually have some viewing ports with some space for each of the 4 figures to sit, which is really cool to see. And of course, this all comes off as well, so you can remove this whole top panel, and there's a lot of interior space, a lot more than I actually was anticipating with a set like this. There are unique stickers for each of the control panels here, so you can see here, you can see the collectible as well right here, some designs here for the control panels, and some more fun ones on this side. Someone seems to be playing a video game on this side with the Monkey King warrior mech being featured, KOing another villain, as well as a classic spaceman being referenced right there. A little hard to see, but that is the classic spaceman on the countertop there. All in all, this is a lot of really nice space included on the interior, even a fire hydrant, walkie-talkie for all sorts of different stuff. You can even load the jetpack into here as well, so there's a lot of interior space for a ton of different figures. 4 seats here, and of course, you move up to the cockpit. This also obviously opens up, so you can get a pilot as well, so that's 5 figures, not even mentioning all the interior space you can use to hold other figures. So all in all, it's just really cool to get so much space inside the ship, and of course, the ship itself is really cool as well. So closing this all up, we can see how this works out as an actual spacecraft. And this, again, is one of the coolest spacecrafts LEGO has done for basically any original theme. I love the transparent red design. These are new in transparent red. These are new in transparent red, so some great recolors here to get, so awesome to see those. Moving along the back here, you have a nice design for the full-on drum lacquered metallic gold printing on the back here. So these are all painted drum lacquered gold, massive jet engines on the back here for the rocket itself. So really nice to see this kind of design. And of course, it stands up straight as well. Of course, because this is a Monkey Kid set, there are some MK-style detailing. If you may notice, despite this being a standard classic spaceship, this also has a cloud design, which is very much supposed to evoke the Monkey Kid cloud aesthetic, as well as, of course, the standard teal design that we've seen on other MK sets. All in all, I am very pleased with the set. It is probably one of my favorite MK sets ever, certainly one of the best sets of the wave, but only topped by the next set we're about to take a look at. So let's now move on to our next LEGO set. Alright, so here we have set number 80036. This is the Monkey Kid City of Lantern set, retailing for $150 and is truly the flagship set of this year's Monkey Kid wave. A while back, I put out a whole Easter eggs and references video featuring all the different Easter eggs and nods to other LEGO themes and stuff from the Monkey Kid show in its own separate video, linked in the description below, so do check that out if you want a very thorough overview of the set. Because I already did that, I will be very briefly reviewing this and just kind of describing how I feel about the set and its value in general. So first of all, you can see immediately that this set is kind of supposed to evoke the same building style or principles of the Ninjago City sets or the Ninjago City modulars, although at a much cheaper price, which is really nice because it actually gives people a good entry point into this style of LEGO building while not having to break the bank while doing so. What's really nice is that this features a full-on monorail going through the entire set. This is actually just using the standard roller coaster pieces, but it's basically just supposed to be a modern LEGO monorail. It even references the original LEGO Airport Shuttle monorail, which you can see here in the logo, so it very much is supposed to be a monorail. Of course, this also has a lot of different buildings, and it truly is a modular build, which means every single one of these buildings can be removed, and they have the right amount of Technic connections on the side to actually be added on to the previous Monkey Kid buildings, which is a really nice thing. You can see here the Technic holes are specifically meant to interface with the other buildings in the Monkey Kid series, which is something that's really fantastic and means that you could really truly expand the set. Even if you bought two of the set, you can do a lot of stuff with it, which actually the LEGO designer of the set posted a picture of what two of them combined looks like, which is a really cool thing. And of course, if you have other Monkey Kid buildings, you can add those on too and truly have a full display. So first of all, you can see here that every single section can be removed. So you've got, first of all, the Lotus Hotel section here. It features this year's collectible, which we mentioned previously, these fire ring-like things, and you also have a nicely brick-built lantern. It's really just a standard facade. Obviously, the back is pretty much just wide open up here, but it is just nice to see in general a full-on hotel. Moving onwards, there actually is a LEGO store. This LEGO store right here features a ton of references to older LEGO themes, which is really nice. I really love all the different references here, which you again can see in detail for my references video. This is a really great build for a LEGO store because it even features the pick-a-brick wall as well as some checkout counters there. Very compact, obviously, because this has to be super compact, but it gets the point across very nicely and adds some nice color and nice refreshment to the set itself. Moving onwards, we have a Panda store. These are staples in the Monkey Kid line. We actually did get a full-on Panda store retail store in one of the other sets, and so it's nice to see this kind of trend continuing. It again is a very tiny convenience store. Not a lot of space where you can put figures in, just basically the most bare-bones checkout counter that you can imagine, but it does its job well and serves its purpose fine. Moving onwards, we have a much larger store here that actually can be fully removed. This right here is just the noodle store, so it's actually a full-on restaurant featuring a lot of interior detail. This is probably one of my favorite buildings in the set because this also introduces the brand new LEGO chopstick element, and these tables here are just really nice in general. You can see the hot sauce container there. You've got your stone pot bowl in the center, which is a staple of eating at Asian restaurants, and of course you have your different spices and packets of sauces here that you can actually use to add onto your food. So this is just a really nice space, and I'm really impressed by the amount of detail they were able to pack in such a small space. Down here, we also talked about this in my other video, but there's a lot of references to other Monkey Kid villains, which you can see in this corner here, as well as actually a nice station for chefs to prepare the meals. Moving onwards, we have a bit of a lobster store here as well. It's a very basic thing. It's just kind of its own stand here, but it actually is featuring some lobster food, so it's nice to get this in a full set here. Obviously, this is probably one of the most basic displays that you can see from the set itself, but it just adds a nice level of detail here. And of course, onto the base of the building here, everything is actually fully modular, even at this level. So if you wanted to, you can just very carefully detach the roller coaster or monorail elements here. And if we're careful about it, you can actually just pull these off. These separate out, and you can use this to expand the city should you actually want to expand it in any case. Down here, they also included, it's a little hard to see, but they included a ton of extra Technic pins, which are really useful if you want to use the buildings in the standard lineup display for a standard street, instead of using them on this larger city display here, which is a really nice touch. I am really happy they actually included the extra Technic pins to do that. They did not need to, but it's a very nice touch.
Of course, with everything pretty much removed, it is very bare bones. You really just have a standard structure for the city, and it really only comes together once all the buildings are stacked on. You can see this in action once I actually remove this side of the building here. Everything just comes right off here, and of course this is not meant to actually come off this roller coaster piece here, but obviously this is basically just your standard structure and the base of the set. But again, I think it's really cool that you actually have the modular playability aspect of this, that you can really move stuff around. What's also very nice is you may notice they included an extra section of roller coaster track here, which is specifically included in case you want to expand this city. If you buy 2 copies of the set, you can use this track to actually expand the track layout, which I think is a great inclusion. They did not need to include it again. They even include the extra 2x2 tile to make it all line up nicely. This is really making me want to purchase 2 of these because that's just so nice they included it in case you wanted to buy more than one. Of course, with all of this section removed, we can actually see what it looks like when you have all the buildings on the ground laid out together. So, of course, you've got the hotel here, but everything just stacks up and forms its own street. And what's really nice is that they actually made sure there is some semblance of a road here. Every single building can be fully modularly attached to each other. I'm not using the pins right now, but you can kind of see what that's supposed to look like. And these actually continue again alongside these standard LEGO Monkie Kid buildings, which were introduced in some of the other Monkie Kid sets. So it's really cool that you can actually have a full-on street, and you can use those other buildings on this structure here. You don't need to use these buildings. So again, if you buy 2 of the set, you can swap out the buildings and have a full-on large city, which I think is awesome. Moving onwards, though, that honestly is basically all there is to say about the set. I think it's probably one of my favorite Monkie Kid sets yet. Just a lot of detail packed into a truly fantastic display. I always love it when LEGO designers reference all sorts of different obscure LEGO stuff, older LEGO themes and whatnot, and this set is really jam-packed with all sorts of references to classic LEGO builds and LEGO sets, so I think this is probably one of my favorite sets of the year. With everything reassembled, you can see the set in all its glory, and in terms of the price tag, I think $150 is honestly pretty fair for a set of this size. You're not paying as much as Ninjago City, so I wouldn't expect the same level of detail and building techniques that you would see in the Ninjago City modulars, but on its own, this is truly a fantastic set. I cannot stop gushing about it. I really do love the style. It's not going to be for everyone. Some people have complained that it does feel a little bit scattered. There's not a lot of visual consistency between all the stores, but I think to an extent that's kind of realistic and truly feels like a lived-in city with all sorts of nooks and crannies for people to discover. Alright, for the minifigure lineup of the set, we have Monkie Kid in his casual outfit featuring an exclusive head print design. Of course, everything about the figure is exclusive. He features these casual clothes only in this set. We also have a more casual version of Mr. Tang, although we did get that one in another set, as well as the casual version of Mei. So these are basically just in their civilian attires, as well as Pigsy, who is also sporting a new design, but of course is in his standard apron. We get a few different civilians featuring just a different combination of torsos that we have seen before. We've actually seen this exact civilian in other Monkie Kid sets, so kind of nice to see some visual consistency there. But of course, a lot of these other minifigures are pretty plain. The train conductor in particular seems like it could just be from something out of LEGO City. Onwards to here, we actually have 2 nods to LEGO Classic Space. I mentioned this in the references and Easter eggs video, but these are essentially supposed to be Explorian/Spyrius droids featuring that vintage LEGO design. The set also includes this nice little vehicle or flying sort of blimp for Pigsy. It's very reminiscent of the Master Wu Skybound miniature blimp that he got in the 2016 wave of Ninjago, but it's a nice little charming build, just nothing too much else I can say about it. And so with that, we have summed up all of the Monkie Kid sets, so now it's time to give my overall thoughts on this wave as a whole.
Alright, so with that, we have taken a look at every single one of the brand new January 1st, 2022 LEGO Monkie Kid sets, from the truly incredible City of Lanterns all the way down to the very first smallest underwater journey polybag, which was surprisingly really good. We got a lot of variety in this wave with a lot of very unique builds featuring different characters, heroes, villains, civilians, and a pretty generally interesting mix overall. So, starting off, I want to say that some of the highlights of the wave obviously are the 2 largest sets. This is not always the case, in my personal opinion. Last year, we actually reviewed last year's wave around the time when it came out. I was not the biggest fan of the drone copter, which was last year's $150 set. However, I am very, very, very happy with this year's $150 set, the City of Lanterns, as well as the $130 set, which is the Galactic Explorer here, two of the best Monkey Kid sets, but even beyond those, there are some really great standouts. I think the Fire Ring is really great, did not need to necessarily be packaged with all sorts of the other smaller builds. I could have very much been happy with it as its own set, but for $100 for this plus all the other side builds, I'm pretty happy with it. It's a very unique design for a LEGO build. And of course, for something smaller, the Changi Mooncake Factory is a very charming build, but unfortunately one that I feel is very overpriced. Unlike some of these other builds where I feel like 130 is very good for this, 150 is really good for this, and 100 at least I can see the value here. $70 for the Changi Mooncake Factory definitely does not feel quite right to me. 50 for sure, maybe 60, not 70. As far as the Maze Dragon horse car goes, again, I mentioned not a huge fan. I think they did it a lot better in the previous waves with the Dragon Horse Jet. And that is one of my bigger complaints of the wave, that I think that some of these sets, which on their own are pretty good, I can't help but compare against what came before. Stuff like the Macox mech is a very decent mech on its own, but compared to some of the other Monkey Kid sets, which were really fantastic mechs, it just feels a little bit lacking in the shaping, kind of some awkward shaping, as well as the inarticulation of the legs. And again, with the horse bike, I think that the Jet did a lot better job of transitioning the color scheme better. So I think that that's something that I will kind of hold against some of the sets here, maybe unfairly, because compared to the rest of LEGO's product portfolio, these are some of the best. In terms of the minifigures, one thing I really love is that we're getting completely different variants across multiple different sets. Monkey Kid has a quote-unquote main outfit for the wave, but to be honest, he only wears the main outfit for 3 sets, one of which is the polybag. The other sets, he has a training outfit, a casual outfit, a space outfit, and a fully armored up outfit. And that does a really great job in terms of introducing variety into the wave, especially if, since he's the main character, kids are going to be getting a ton of him if they're buying multiple versions of these sets. So I think absolutely fantastic that they're doing that. They even did that for, say, the May figure. She has the new version, which I said I wasn't a huge fan of with the new vibrant yellow being used, but I still think it's nice to get a new variant as well as a space outfit and casual version. And even stuff like Mr. Tang, who's basically a very much a side character, gets a space outfit and a casual outfit. So I really like that LEGO was introducing new outfits for the characters across multiple different sets to kind of spice things up and keep things from getting repetitive and boring. One thing, however, that is a bit repetitive, unfortunately we are getting 6 of the evil macaque minions. I could have done with 4. 6 does feel like a little bit much. I guess they make sense for army building, but they're not the most interesting designs. Macox himself, however, as the main villain, is a really great design. Love the new headpiece he has. And one thing that I do wish that they did include, instead of, say, too many different villains, or even just as additional characters, are more civilians. One thing that previous waves of Monkey Kid did really good are including civilians scattered throughout these sets, seemingly at random. Unfortunately, we only get 3 civilians in this wave, and they're all in the main city set, which means that we didn't really get any civilians to save throughout the rest of the sets, which does feel like a bit of a disappointment compared to previous waves. That being said, the figure selection and design of the figures is absolutely fantastic. We get leg printing, dual molded legs, arm printing, dual molded headpieces, some of the best minifigures that LEGO has ever done for any original theme. And that's honestly the same design principle that applies to the rest of this wave. Monkey Kid is, and I will stand by this, probably one of the best designed original LEGO themes that they have done almost ever, or just in general. I love the amount of detail that goes into these models. It really feels like you are building deluxe products. And I hate to compare it, but if I were to compare it to Ninjago, I'm going to be completely honest, the level of quality in the builds and the level of diverse building techniques and designs is just another step above what they're doing for Ninjago. And I do understand this is for different age ranges. Ninjago obviously does some really cool stuff that outshines Monkey Kid and stuff like the Ninjago City sets, but as a whole, I think that the sets in general are just really well designed, and this is not a knock against any other LEGO themes. I just think this is some of the best designs we've ever gotten from any original LEGO theme or any theme in general. So I'm very pleased with this. I do wish that LEGO would just market this theme a little bit more, at least in my region in North America. The Monkey Kid sets are not really sold in traditional LEGO stores. Maybe they're sold in some, but a lot of them do not have them. You can't get them from Amazon, you can't get them from Target, you have to get them from Shop at Home, which is really, really limiting and unfortunate. And it's the same case a lot of times overseas. I know in Europe when I was traveling, I didn't see any Monkie Kid sets whatsoever, even at traditional LEGO brand retail stores. So very disappointing to see that. At least it seems to be doing well enough in Asian regions where LEGO actually wants it to do well to warrant a third wave like this. It's very rare that an original LEGO theme will get this much budget and dedication put into their third year of sets. So apparently they're doing something right in China, or at least overseas. I hope that MK will continue to be successful and continue to be one of LEGO's best product lines ever, which at this point, it already cements itself in history as one of the most innovative product lines they've done in terms of an original LEGO theme. But with that, we have summed up my thoughts on this year's wave of Monkie Kid releases. I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know down in the comments below, do you like these sets? Do you dislike them? Which ones do you own, or which ones do you want? And what are your personal favorites? Thank you all so much for tuning into Duckbricks. I hope you enjoyed this mega review, and stay tuned for even more LEGO news, reviews, discussion, and analyses coming your way very soon. Thanks so much, and bye-bye for now.